And in this interview, General Wesley Clark described how he was shown this classified memo, and this was just months after 9/11, about this plan to take down 7 different countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and Syria, and eventually ending with, wouldn't you know it, Iran.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the Joint Staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, No. He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess if the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem has to look like a nail." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper. He said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today. And he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me."
And what he was basically quoting from the sounds of it, was this PNAC, or Project for a New American Century, report published way back in 1997, called Rebuilding America's Defenses, which called for, quote, "a new Pearl Harbor type event to justify a more aggressive U.S. military posture and global dominance." Kind of like how Trump has just renamed the Department of Defense the Department of War. Yeah, it sounds a little aggressive, don't it? And Clark went on to argue that the 9/11 attacks provided the catalyst, conveniently enough, of implementing this long-standing neoconservative agenda. And of course, neocons like the late Dick Cheney, Donald Rumsfeld, and Paul Wolfowitz were the key architects. And so you wonder why some of us out here, have had a few questions over the years about the official story surrounding 9/11 and the whole phony war on terror that came along with it.